Let me ask you something. Have you ever reached a moment where life cornered you so hard that you didn't know if you were fighting people, fighting pain, or fighting God himself? Because there is one night in the Bible, one strange, terrifying, holy night, where a man didn't just pray, he didn't just cry, he fought, not symbolically, not spiritually, physically, a full-blown, violent, midnight wrestling match with a being that wasn't human. It happened in total darkness, in the silence of a desert night, with no witnesses and no warning. A hand grabbed him, a body slammed into him, and before he could even breathe, Jacob found himself locked in a battle he never asked for. A battle that would leave him limping for the rest of his life and renamed by God. What kind of fight is so intense that heaven decides this man is not walking away the same? Why did God send an angel to attack him? Why did Jacob refuse to let go, even when the angel dislocated his hip with a single touch? And here's the chilling question you must carry through this entire story. What if the greatest fight of your life is the one God uses to transform you? If you've ever felt broken, if you've ever felt abandoned, if you've ever felt like you were wrestling with something you couldn't understand, then Jacob's story is your story too. Because on that night, when Jacob was alone, afraid, shaking, heaven stepped into human darkness, not with comfort, but with conflict. And the man who once ran from his past finally ran into his destiny. Before we begin this journey, this is Bible Mysteries. If you love deep biblical stories, hidden revelations, and emotional spiritual storytelling, make sure you like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss a new episode. Before we step back into that night of wrestling, we need to understand the man who stood there, shaking in the dark, staring at the river, knowing that by morning, his entire life could be over. Jacob wasn't just afraid of Esau, he was afraid of himself. Picture Jacob standing alone on the bank of the Jabbok River. The moon is thin, barely giving him enough light to see his own hands. The wind moves around him like something alive, almost whispering. His family sleeps across the water, his wives, his children, his servants. Everyone depending on him, everyone trusting him. But Jacob, he's trembling, because for the first time in decades, he's about to face a brother he betrayed. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had to face someone you hurt and it made your stomach twist just thinking about it? That was Jacob. He knows the danger is real. He knows Esau is coming with swords, with anger, with the memory of every lie, every trick, every betrayal. He knows the past has caught up with him, and he knows he has no more tricks left. Jacob whispers, almost to himself, "God, please don't let me die tomorrow." The river murmurs beside him, cold and dark. The wind dies completely. No rustling, no movement, just silence. A silence so complete it presses on the chest. It makes it hard to breathe. It makes it impossible to move. It makes the night feel alive. Jacob senses it. Something is near, something powerful, something watching. He turns his head slowly. His eyes scan the shadows. Nothing, just darkness. But he feels it, like the weight of something impossible is in the air, waiting for him. His heart beats faster. His muscles tighten. Every instinct in his body screams at him. And then, memories flood him all at once. The smell of Isaac's tent the night he lied. Esau's cry when the blessing was stolen. The years spent running from Laban. The bargains, the schemes, the fear that always pushed him to grab more than his share. Every deception, every manipulation, every desperate choice he made to survive. It all crashes over him like a storm. Jacob swallows hard. He whispers again, quieter this time, a note of desperation in his voice. "God of Abraham, God of Isaac, help me." But deep inside, Jacob knows prayer alone will not save him tonight. He steps closer to the river, the cold water brushing against his sandals. His knees are weak. His hands shake. Every nerve in his body is alert, waiting. The silence stretches. The wind does not return. Even the river seems to hold its breath. And then, he feels it. A presence. Not a man, not an animal, something else, something strong, something that has come for him. Jacob stiffens. He can't see it yet, but he knows it is there. The hair on his arms rises. Every instinct screams to run, but he cannot. He is trapped between fear and destiny, between what he has done and what he must become. And so he stands, shaking, waiting, breathing shallow, praying in whispers that are half prayer, half confession. Because Jacob doesn't know that in just a few moments, he will no longer be Jacob. He will wrestle with heaven, and by the first light of dawn, he will walk away with a new name, a new destiny, and a wound that will mark him forever. The angel appears. The first touch came without warning. Jacob had barely adjusted his cloak when a presence hit him like a wall. Strong, unyielding, cold, not human, not something he could see clearly in the dark. He stumbled, nearly falling into the river, and the air seemed to press against him, heavy and unrelenting. His pulse raced, his chest heaved. Every instinct screamed to run, to escape, but there was nowhere to go. He swung his arms wildly, striking the figure, hoping to break free, but it held fast. Its strength was unlike anything he had ever felt. Every pull, every shove, every movement was calculated. Jacob felt as if he were wrestling not with a man, but with the weight of destiny itself. For hours they struggled. Time lost meaning. The moon moved across the sky. His muscles burned. Sweat stung his eyes. Dirt filled his mouth. And still he refused to let go. "Let me go!" Jacob shouted, his voice cracked. "I will not be defeated!" The figure said nothing, but the grip never weakened. Pain shot through Jacob as the being twisted his body. His arms strained, his legs ached, his breath came in ragged gasps, and yet something inside him refused to surrender. He realized then, he was not just fighting an angel, he was fighting himself. Every fear, every regret, every cowardice he had hidden all his life came alive in that struggle. And then, a sudden surge of power. The angel dislocated his hip. Pain ripped through his body, sharper than any blow he had ever known. Jacob fell to the ground, gasping, clutching the injury, and the darkness seemed to thicken around them. But even then, even broken and bleeding, he refused to let go. "Please, I will not let you go until you bless me," he gasped. Something shifted. The figure paused, silent, almost deliberate, as if weighing the man before him. The night held its breath, and in that moment, Jacob understood. This fight was not about strength, not about survival. It was about transformation. Every struggle, every pain, every desperate refusal to give up carried meaning. Every punch, every twist, every agonizing second was shaping him into someone new. The dawn was still hours away, but by the time the first light kissed the river, Jacob would never be the same again. The angel had arrived. The fight had begun, and Jacob's life and his very name would change forever. The struggle continued through the night, each moment stretching longer than the one before. Jacob's muscles burned, his body screamed, but still he clung to the angel's arm. Every ounce of his strength was a prayer, every gasp a desperate plea. He had nothing left to fight with but sheer will, and that was enough. The figure paused again, gripping Jacob in a way that left him suspended between pain and impossibility. Then came the words, soft, calm, yet filled with power that made Jacob shiver. "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." Jacob's ears barely processed it. His heart thumped so violently it felt like it would burst. "Prevailed?" he whispered, disbelief choking him. "I prevailed?" The angel's hand pressed harder on his shoulder, not to harm, but to demand the truth, that Jacob recognized the struggle he had fought all his life, the deceit, the fear, the running, and finally face it. Jacob's mind raced. Every trick he had ever played, every step he had ever taken to protect himself, every time he had run from what he deserved, it all came rushing back. And yet here he was, still standing, still refusing to let go. Pain shot through his hip as he tried to rise. The dislocation, a sharp, constant reminder that he could no longer run from this moment. His legs shook, his hands bled from gripping the angel's arm, and sweat poured down his face. And in that agony, something inside him shifted. He was no longer just Jacob, the deceiver. He was Israel, the one who had wrestled, who had faced fear and pain in the very presence of God itself, and had survived. The angel released him then, not violently, but gently, and Jacob collapsed to the ground, panting, trembling, his body broken, but his spirit reborn. The first light of dawn crept across the river, reflecting in the water like a promise, a covenant, a new beginning. Jacob touched his hip, wincing at the pain that would never fully heal, and for the first time he understood the weight of struggle and the power of perseverance. He had been changed forever. He had been named forever. He had met God in the dark, and he had prevailed. And as he limped toward the other side of the river, toward his waiting brother, and the life that awaited him, he carried not just a name, but a story that would echo through generations. His body ached from the night's struggle. His hip throbbed with every step. His hands were scratched and bruised, yet every movement carried weight beyond pain. It carried purpose. Across the river, the camp stirred. Servants began to wake. Children rubbed their eyes, and the women glanced anxiously toward the dark figure making its way toward them. Jacob's eyes, however, were fixed on the approaching figure across the field. Esau, the brother who had once vowed to kill him, the brother who had every reason to strike, to lash out, to repay years of deception with blood. Jacob's heart hammered in his chest. Fear rose again, but this time it was tempered with something new. Confidence, recognition. He had fought. He had survived. He had been changed. He fell to his knees, not in submission to Esau, but in reverent awareness of all that had happened. He remembered the night, the struggle, the touch that left his hip lame, yet his spirit alive. And as he rose, he whispered quietly, almost to himself, "God, you are faithful." Esau's approach was cautious at first, his face unreadable. But as he drew closer, his eyes softened. He saw Jacob limping yet determined, and something shifted. Anger, once thick and burning, melted into surprise, and then into tears. Jacob bowed low, trembling not with fear, but with humility. "My Lord," he said, voice cracking, "I have wronged you, but I come in peace." For a moment, silence stretched between them, heavier than any night Jacob had ever faced. And then Esau ran, not to strike, not to attack. He ran to his brother, threw his arms around him, and held him tight. Jacob's heart ached with emotion he could not name. Relief, gratitude, awe. The pain of the night had not been meaningless. Every bruise, every gasp, every tear had led to this moment. Reconciliation. Esau stepped back, smiling, still holding Jacob's shoulders. "You are my brother," he said simply. "Nothing can change that." Jacob's eyes filled again, but this time with understanding. The struggle with the angel, the wrestling in the darkness, the pain in his body, all of it had prepared him for this. He had faced God, and in facing God, he had learned how to face man. And as the two brothers walked together toward the waiting camp, the river glinting in the morning light, Jacob knew one thing with certainty. The man who wrestled in the dark was gone. In his place was Israel, a man reborn, named by God, and ready to meet the future without fear. The night of struggle had ended, but its lessons, its scars, and its power would live on forever. The camp had settled into a quiet that felt almost unreal. Children played softly by the fires, servants moved about, and the wives watched their husbands with relief painted across their faces. But Jacob could not settle. He sat alone a little apart from the others, the morning sun warming his back, but doing nothing to touch the chill still deep in his bones. His hip throbbed constantly, a reminder of the night's struggle. Every movement reminded him of the strength of the figure he had wrestled. Every breath reminded him of the fear he had faced and the determination he had found within himself. He thought back to the riverbank, to the first moment the hand grabbed him in the dark. He remembered the panic that surged, the wild desperation to break free, the muscles screaming, the soul shaking, and he remembered the persistence, the refusal to let go, no matter the cost. Jacob touched his hip gently. It would never be the same, and yet that pain, that permanent mark carried meaning. It was proof of a night when heaven itself had reached into the world and demanded something from him. Proof that struggle, no matter how brutal, could transform a man. He remembered the words the figure had spoken. "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." Those words replayed in his mind over and over, echoing with a resonance that was at once terrifying and comforting. He had wrestled with God. He had wrestled with himself. He had faced the darkest part of his life and had survived. A deep, quiet realization settled in him. The man who had run all his life, the schemer, the deceiver, the fearful son, was gone. What remained was Israel, a man forged by struggle, blessed through suffering, and named by God. Jacob looked toward the horizon, the river sparkling under the morning light. He thought of Esau, of the reconciliation, of the brotherhood restored. But most of all, he thought of the night, the darkness, the figure, the wrestling that had changed him forever. A shiver ran through him, not from fear, but from awe. He had touched something divine. He had walked through the fire of struggle and emerged alive, changed, transformed. The silence of the morning pressed around him, gentle yet profound, as if the world itself recognized what had happened. And Jacob understood finally that some battles are meant to leave marks on the body, on the spirit, on the soul. That night on the Jabbok River would live in him forever, not as a memory of pain, not as a memory of fear, but as a memory of transformation, as a memory of God's hand reaching into the dark and the man who refused to let go. The sun had fully risen now, but Jacob barely noticed its warmth. His mind was still in the night that had changed everything. The struggle, the pain, the fear, the angel, the blessing, it all replayed like a film he could not turn off. Every detail was vivid, every sensation still sharp, the grip that could not be broken, the weight pressing down on him, the darkness that seemed alive, and the sudden, searing revelation that he had faced God and survived. He looked at his family across the river. His wives and children, once frightened, now smiled, sensing the shift in him. But no one could truly understand what had happened. No one could know the full depth of the night except Jacob himself. That struggle was his alone, a secret of the soul, a confrontation with heaven itself. And yet, its effects rippled outward. Every decision he would make from this point forward, every word he spoke, every path he walked, carried the weight of that night. Israel, once Jacob, would no longer be a man of fear and schemes. He would be a man who understood struggle, who had met divine power face to face, and who had been transformed by it. Even the limp in his hip, a permanent mark from the encounter, became a symbol of endurance, a reminder that some battles leave scars, but those scars are proof of life, proof of perseverance, proof that God's hand moves even in ways we cannot fully comprehend. Jacob would teach his children, he would teach his grandchildren, stories of struggle, courage, persistence, and divine encounters would shape his family for generations. Israel was no longer just a man. He was the bearer of a legacy forged in midnight struggle, blessed in pain, and honored by God. He stood by the river one last time before continuing on his journey. The water reflected the sky, the trees, and the sunlight. But what Jacob saw most clearly was himself. The boy who ran, the man who feared, the schemer who lied, all of them were behind him now. What remained was Israel, a man transformed, a man named by God, a man ready to walk into the future he had fought for, with every struggle, every bruise, every tear, and every whispered prayer forever etched into his being. And in the quiet that followed, as the river continued its endless flow and the wind whispered through the trees, Jacob knew something profound. The night on the Jabbok River would never leave him. It had made him who he was meant to be, and it would guide every step he took from that moment forward. Some battles are private, some battles are brutal, some battles leave marks that will last a lifetime. But for Jacob, that night became his greatest victory. Not over men, not over fear, not even over the angel, but over the doubt, the hesitation, and the weakness that had followed him all his life. He had wrestled with God, and he had prevailed. He spoke quietly, almost to himself, almost in disbelief. "God, I saw you. I felt you. I do not know how, but I know you were here, and I survived." The words trembled on his lips, heavy with awe and fear. He realized something that the night had taught him. God's power is not gentle, and his blessings are not free. They demand confrontation, endurance, and surrender. Jacob pressed his hand to his hip, the injury still raw, still painful. The physical pain mirrored the emotional weight he carried. Every bruise, every ache, every stiffness was a reminder of what it had taken to meet God in the dark. And yet, despite the pain, he felt something new stirring inside him. Clarity, strength, a strange, unwavering confidence that he had never known. The struggle had stripped away deceit, pride, and fear. What remained was raw, unshakable truth. He thought of all the moments he had run, lying to his father, stealing the blessing, fleeing from Esau, bargaining with Laban. Every choice had been made in fear, in cunning, in survival mode. But tonight, Jacob realized that fear alone cannot define a man. Courage defines him, perseverance defines him, wrestling with God defines him. He whispered again, "God, I will not run anymore. I will not hide. I will carry what you have given me and live it fully." A wind stirred across the river, gentle, almost like affirmation. Jacob closed his eyes, letting the memory of the night settle deep within him. The struggle, the pain, the fear, it was all part of something greater than himself, something eternal, something that had reshaped him at the very core. For hours he sat there, alone with the river, alone with the weight of what had happened. And as he stared into the water, he understood the truth. Some battles are invisible. Some victories leave scars. Some blessings demand confrontation. Jacob rose finally, his body stiff, but his spirit alive. He limped slowly toward the camp, toward his family, toward the life he had always wanted, but had never truly understood until now. Israel walked with him now, not Jacob the deceiver, but Israel the man who had wrestled with God, faced himself, and emerged changed forever. The night had ended, but the transformation would last a lifetime. He walked differently now, slower, more deliberate, yet stronger. The limp in his hip reminded him that true transformation often comes with pain, and that the scars we carry can mark not weakness, but endurance. His family noticed the change immediately. The fear that once shadowed his face was gone. In its place was a quiet authority, a presence that commanded respect without words. The children gravitated toward him instinctively, sensing the strength and wisdom he had gained. The wives looked at him differently too, their eyes reflecting relief and awe, as if they understood, though they could not know the depth of what had happened, that their husband was no longer the same man who had crossed the river in fear. Jacob knew that the night had not only reshaped him, but also set the course for generations to come. The blessing he had wrestled for and received was not simply for himself. It was a covenant, a promise that his descendants would inherit more than land or wealth. They would inherit the legacy of struggle, perseverance, and divine encounter. Every choice he would make from now on, every lesson he would teach his children, every step he would take as the head of his household, was infused with the gravity of that night. He thought back to Esau and the reconciliation that had followed. It had been more than relief, it had been revelation. Jacob realized that the courage he had found in the darkness allowed him not just to survive, but to heal fractured relationships, to extend grace, and to live in a way that honored the struggle he had endured. Sitting again by the river, watching its steady flow, Jacob whispered to himself, "I fought, I struggled, I endured, and God's hand was in every moment." The water reflected the sunlight, sparkling with life, and Jacob understood that his own life, once defined by fear and cunning, was now a reflection of something greater. He had wrestled with God, with his past and with his fears, and he had emerged not just blessed, but transformed. That night, the river, the darkness, the struggle, all of it would live in him forever. It would guide him, shape him, and mark the beginning of a nation that would carry the same lessons across centuries. The night had demanded everything from him, his strength, his perseverance, his spirit, and in return it gave him his name, his destiny, and the eternal reminder that facing God and oneself can change everything. Jacob rose once more, limping but unwavering, and stepped toward his family. Each movement echoed with the story of the night, a story that would live on, not just in him, but in all who would bear his name. Israel had been born in the dark, forged by struggle and blessed by God. The legacy had begun.